Hello and good evening. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 7, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, is over. And it has been just for today, September 23rd, 2021. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek and TV movie reviews here on Live Long and Podcast. And we got a great panel to break this all down tonight. We're missing Jaemeel Robinson, but we do have the other two. The three of us are here to keep this going and maybe ascend to the royal family of what's the planet called? Lysteria?
Hesperia.
Hesperia. First, let's introduce my brother. We got Jeff Mader. How you doing tonight, Jeff?
Good. You know what? What's the character's name? That's the virgin in this
Billups.
Billings.
I'm doing as well as Billups is when he's fixing a warp core coil.
Right. Like who was that other guy, Salish, who said, "Keep your pips on, Billups." That bartender. Fuck, I can't remember his name now. But here he is.
Keep your pips on, Billups.
It was like Otis or something, wasn't it?
It was Otis. Yeah, that's right. And speaking of which, we got Jeremy Collins back watching the comments as he's been tuning in to our various podcasts. Welcome, Jeremy. And anybody listening or watching, wherever that might be, we're streaming here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And you might be listening to us on the audio version as well after the fact. So, and then we also have Davan Skelhorn with us from Locutors of Trek, his own Star Trek podcast, which you should check out wherever you pick up your audio podcast. How are you doing tonight, Davan?
Pretty good. Ready to talk about some Lower Decks?
So, yeah, some Lower Decks, some Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. And yeah, we get our first real feature on Chief Engineer Andy Billups in this episode. Plus, we also get a side mission with Boimler and Mariner, along with the guest star Jeffrey Combs back. Weyoun himself, or Brunt, or Shran, or many other great Star Trek characters.
I will produce a whole fleet of murder drones.
I thought I recognized the voice, and I was like, I figured someone I knew was the supercomputer, and I was right. It was Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah,
I was really enjoying that character, and then I realized it was him, and I was like, "Oh, no wonder." He makes
until he got boimed.
You've been boimed.
Yeah,
You've been boimed. Sorry to tell you, Jeffrey Combs, but you've been boimed.
That's okay. He'll just get another clone in there next week.
Weyoun 20.
Agamis 2.
Agamis 2. So let's just maybe just high level. What you guys think of this episode? Let's start with Jeff. Jeff, where were you on? Or high or low on Where Pleasant Fountains Lie?
I wasn't like super stoked by it, but at the same time, I enjoyed the Billups stuff a lot. Was really laughing at that, and I did like the story and the narrative of what was going on with Boimler and Mariner. At least it felt more like a dramatic episode of Star Trek rather than a regular episode of Lower Decks. If that makes sense, it felt more grounded, and it felt more like there was more stakes, and I don't know, like it was very different than what I'm used to with Lower Decks, and maybe they're kind of changing up a little bit with what they're doing, but that was kind of how I felt about it. So yeah, the Billups stuff felt more like casual Lower Decks, and the Boimler stuff felt more like almost like a departure a little bit. I don't know if you guys felt that way at all.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that the Boimler Mariner mission was not all just chuckles and jokes. It had it did feel like it had some stakes to it, and some drama between Boimler and Mariner, and their relationship continues to develop. Let's go over to Davan. Davan, what are you thinking about this one? And I guess maybe which storyline grabbed you more?
I think the Boimler Mariner storyline grabbed me more with Agamis because I really liked him as well. But to me, it felt a lot like an early season TNG episode where someone was stranded down on a planet, or a couple of people, and someone was turned out to be royalty or something back up on the ship.
Right.
I feel like that's happened a lot.
Yeah, they do like that trope.
To me. It did have a different vibe than a lot of Lower Decks episodes, I think.
Yeah, and so okay, so let's talk about maybe the character of Queen Paulana, who is the mother of Andy Billups. She was basically she's the Luxana Troy of Lower Decks, right? To I
So,
guess Billups is the Troy analog in this situation. And she's not. This is not the first time she's come to the Cerritos to try to woo her son away, to become to ascend to the royal family, and to do so,
Oh, sorry.
did you
Yeah, sorry. I hit the button by accident.
Jeff? Now we share controls, Davin, with the.
Yeah,
I didn't know you
he's
could
having
do
a
that.
hard-
That's
he's
awesome.
having a
Yeah,
hard time.
we just found it out last night because we were sharing the controls, and
It feels very Federation. Not
Very-
necessarily very Starfleet, but pretty Federation of you guys.
We're both
Very-
captains at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, just this whole thing of like, if he loses his virginity, he automatically becomes king.
By Hysperian law, if I lose my virginity, then I automatically become king. I'd have to resign from Starfleet and take the throne.
As Billups tells Rutherford in this. Of course, Billups played by Paul Scheer, who's a very known comedic actor and voice actor, more
League.
notably on The League, that I know him from, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was really good in this episode. His character normally doesn't have this much dialogue for sure. And I did like the focus on his character tonight, and this Hesperian culture. Oh my God, this was great. I just love this idea of a planet that's based on medieval Renaissance fair.
Because they saw dragons there.
It was dragons, and they renamed everything. So I get the impression that they're not aliens, right? These are just humans who maybe have colonized a planet based on Renaissance
Dragons.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, dragons and medieval, what was it? Huzzah! My chief blacksmith.
My chief blacksmith is simply baffled by the loss of power, so I don't know what you can do.
Well,
Yeah.
I
The
think,
prince has returned.
I think this is like a kind of a metaphor for the ridiculousness of royalty and all the affairs that go with it and what comes with abdication. And, there's a lot of things that I think you could definitely compare to the British royal family with what they're making fun of in this episode.
Right. I think they're also just kind of poking fun at the fact that, like, Star Trek. Remember, there was that whole planet that was based on Scotland, where Beverly Crusher's mother and grandmother lived, and whatever.
Yeah, and every episode of the original series, it's like there's a Nazi planet, there's a Western planet,
There's a gangsters 20s planet.
right?
That's a good episode.
It is a good one.
A piece of the action, I tell you.
Piece of the action. And so, it was kind of thought provoking in a Star Trek way, I thought, because I'm like, well, what other groups of people from Earth would seek out to colonize a planet based on a certain obsession? What about
That's definitely one of them.
what could be one of them? Lord of the Rings. What if it was like a world of Hobbit people or people who love?
I assumed they were on that planet.
They probably go to that planet. Okay, but something even whatever, the human race, if it can expand out into space and colonize infinite number of colonies, you would have planets of all kinds of different kinds of people, presumably, right? Like all kinds of different cultures.
I think we've seen some, like the Ryzians are the hedonistic people. They went to Ryza.
Yeah, we got the hedonistic people. We know about the Scottish planet. There could be all kinds of planets. And so I just thought that I did find them they were a little bit distracting,
Hysperian culture can be a bit distracting.
but also charming. And
saying in the comments here, LARP world,
live action role play world. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you get all the Game of Thrones people, you get all the Lord of the Rings people, you get them all in one place, and it kind of reminds me of that. Westworld. I mean, that's kind of what Cowboy World he's saying here. That's kind of what. Yeah, it feels a little bit like Westworld here. What's going on with this medieval planet that
Jeff, boost up your mic a touch.
that Billups is from. Is that better?
Say, go.
Test.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so it kind of feels like a little bit like Westworld with what's going on here. But in this case, it's Renaissance world. It kind of also reminds me of that Loki episode that we got earlier, Dave, over on Super Bros podcasting, when we covered the Loki episode where they kind of go back to 1980 and they end up in this Renaissance fair and stuff like that. So this has been going on for a while, this whole Renaissance obsession.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just like the royal guards that we got to meet here, and some of the others, I guess they're Federation members, Davan.
Are they?
I don't know.
Because well, Freeman was being sort of diplomatic, but not really diplomatic. It's hard to say.
Yeah, we need it. I guess we don't have enough information, but we do
she's
find out
respecting her as the leader of her people. But,
yeah, queen. She is the head of state for them. And then Andy Billups is his real name is Andarithio. Hold on, I have it here.
Prince Andarithio!
Just call
It's
me
such
Billups.
an honor
Thank
to
you.
bask in your glory.
Just call
Our
me
beloved
Billups.
Prince
Okay,
Andarithio has
don't need the necklace.
returned.
Prince Andarithio.
And what's the planet called? Hysteria or something like
Or
that?
Hesperia?
Hesperia.
Okay.
Thank you. But you don't.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
They had a different kind of a ship too, a ship that and everything was named after medieval stuff. I like what he was like. Oh, it's like the dragon drive. He's like, what's that? And he's like, well, the elf.
The dragon bloodfire.
The dragon bloodfire. He's like, we named everything after magic because it's like our culture. And he's like, well,
Yeah,
Rutherford tries
that's
to
funny.
improv. He's like, don't do that. Don't try to get into it. Yeah, and so the whole thing is just the whole storyline with everything. It's kind of predictable, paint by numbers, but it's also fun just because this culture is whatever. We don't know anything about Billups, and I guess it's Tendy's not in it a ton, but Tendy's part of this storyline more. She's more pushing Rutherford to go on this mission after with Billups, go over to the other ship and try to work on a warp drive you've never worked on before, a different kind of a challenge, and it's outside of his comfort zone because he's used to Starfleet tech, I guess. Yeah. And and for a while we think he's dead. We thought he'd blow up, even though I don't think he would go out there.
That's Starfleet.
Here's my kind of thing. With Tendy, I wish they would just kind of stop shoehorning her into the Rutherford storylines, and they would give her something else, or kind of would. It's always the same trope. It's always, she thought, in this episode, she thinks Rutherford's dead, and then she's, it's always her relationship and her affection for Rutherford is basically what defines her.
Or trying to impress her boss.
Yeah, or trying to impress her boss. Yeah, and I don't know. I just think they need to give her her own story and kind of develop her a little bit more.
You mean the mistress of the winter constellations?
Anything for you, mistress of the winter constellations.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. I feel like as a character, she's kind of growing, but it's slow. Davin, what do you think?
What if the Prince of Hesperia married the mistress of the winter constellations?
So that would be Billups and Tendy getting together? All right, Jeff, you want to ship that?
I mean, they would be the breaker of warp coils.
But I don't think it would work out because Billups loves his virginity as
Oh right.
No,
She's an
Billups
Orion.
loves his virginity.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And she's an Orion.
And she's an Orion. Yeah, they couldn't be more different in that sense, right? Whereas Billups' rule, and he had to have a threesome with the two people to ascend to the throne.
Did he have to?
Yeah, I
don't know.
I didn't get that either.
Yeah.
The only lady I love is 2 decks tall and pumped full of dilithium.
I think that was just covering the basis. That was set up by the queen, and it was just maybe he's gay, maybe he's straight. We'll give them both. See what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like it got really like dirty in some parts on the lines, but the Hesperians, I don't know. I'm still like absorbing the episode, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. Um it's like Kroll, science and magic. And then we also got Rutherford. He's saying that's his least favorite character, but I do find Rutherford quite endearing myself, of these lower decks characters. Although I wish sometimes just like Tendi, there was a bit more because I feel like we are starting to give more to Boimler and to Mariner, and I think we should maybe that's a good segue into their storyline for this episode because, okay, it starts off with in where before they diverge really in a significant way, where Boimler's cleaning a phaser rifle, and Mariner asks him, "What's the difference between a phaser rifle and a normal phaser?" And he's like, "You have to use two hands with a phaser rifle." Is
That's
that
what
the
I
only-
would have said.
Mariner's kind of a jerk to Boimler throughout this episode, and I think we'll get more into it, but I do think that she judges him entirely on his demeanor and not his capabilities. And she kind of mistakes the two, I think, because I do think he is capable, but he's just not experienced enough, which is kind of what she's saying. But at the same time, I think she's kind of judging him in a way that is not helpful. It's like with your kids, you can't protect them from everything. You have to you have to let them scrape their knee, and I think she's like trying to protect him too much, and that's kind of what I see from her character in this episode.
Yeah, well, we saw this big betrayal tonight where she got this big assignment, which was wet. What was it? Wet, getting wet or something? Like it was something like
Wet
with
works?
a phaser rifle. Wet works, which Mariner did not enjoy and did not like him saying those
Calling
things.
it wet works.
Stop calling it wet works and whatever. And then he gets the little text on his pad from Ransom that you've been reassigned here, and this becomes a big conflict. And I do agree with Boimler's point of view that she didn't really have a place in this, but it's almost like she wants to keep him from
Succeeding,
getting promoted. I think maybe more specifically, so that he
Yeah.
doesn't leave the lower decks.
yeah, that, and she also basically says to him in this episode that she feels that he's incapable of handling it once he does get there, and he keeps talking about the Titan, how all the things that happened on the Titan, and she's just had enough of hearing it from him. But at the same time, I think she's a very selfish character, and they've really showed us that throughout the series, not just in this episode, but she really will sabotage other people's lives to benefit herself. And I don't know, she's to me very self-centered and selfish of a character.
Right. Davin, would you agree with that?
But the Mariner take, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's her
Yeah.
whole issue with being in Starfleet too. Really, I mean, doesn't want to play by the rules and be a team player and that sort of thing. I thought they had that episode where those two sort of had it out about the whole Titan thing, but they're keeping that alive because he keeps talking about it, and
I guess
She's
that's a
still
good
mad
thing
about
though,
it.
right? Because like in real life, those like even if you have a conflict with somebody and even if you talk it out, it doesn't necessarily go away right away, and then maybe that's a bit more realistic, more honest to
Yeah.
how sometimes just one apology or one sort of heart to heart might not be enough to really get to the bottom of it.
just unexpected from a cartoon kind of.
It is, and this is the thing with this like show is also I do feel like Mariner, as much as she's the lead character, we're not meant to love her, unapologetically. I think we are supposed to see her flaws. I think the writers are making a very conscious effort for us to sometimes kind of see her as a hey, like I don't know about all that. I think your motivations are selfish in this instance. And I think that's smart. I think because then if they don't do that, then we're only gonna like side with Mariner in most of the storylines.
And
And
Boimler's just a doofus who
yeah,
can't do
and
anything.
and like they're doing a very conscious thing here of making sure that Boimler has a chance to shine in multiple moments, and kind of maybe a different way of thinking, Mariner, is going to get you out of this. You're not the super smartest person on every mission, and you need to realize that.
Right. Well, in this particular mission that they get onto, so like there's in the cold open, there was just this whole thing where we get to meet the Jeffrey Combs, the character, the evil computer that he plays is called Agamus. Agamus.
Agamus.
Yeah.
Agamus. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, my Alexa. No. So anyway, so I said the C word and when my Alexa went off. And so yeah, we got to it was like basically controlling this alien civilization, and it was ruling over them, much like it was kind of like what a lot of times what Kirk in particular would come through. He's like, yeah, it was running an army full of murder drones. And now we're going to take it basically to the Daystrom Institute to put it into evil computer prison. Right. So that's the mission that Boimler and Mariner get put on in this episode. They have to basically it's kind of like a prisoner transport story where they're kind of taking this prisoner. In this case, it's a evil computer played by Jeffrey Combs, and bring it through. But they crash their shuttle almost right away and end up on this planet. In typical Star Trek shipwrecked fashion, where we're going along and then we're hit by something. Brace for impact. We're not gonna make it. Okay, we made it, and crash, and the shuttle doesn't work anymore, and nothing works anymore. They do have some rations, but they get eaten by like some kind of an animal, and all they can get is black licorice from the replicator.
Good thing the replicator's still intact. Computer, iced tea, splash of lemonade, cold.
Black licorice, dry.
Great. The least nutritious food that tastes the most like poison.
Yeah.
Do either of you guys like black licorice?
No.
I like real black licorice. I don't like the fake sugar one,
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Licorice is not a flavor I enjoy, and so I'm with this. If I was stuck on a planet that could only replicate black licorice, no good.
Our father loves
and grow fruits with juice that tastes like black licorice.
Like licorice, which I guess would be like, because fennel, I kind of like in some dishes.
Fennel.
Yeah, but licorice as a candy or as a flavor, no, that is not a flavor I would like. Jeremy's all for it, so he's okay with the replicator being only dry licorice. But if you do like it, Davan, what would be your worst case scenario for something the replicator could only make?
Oh, I don't like it. Mine's black licorice. That's terrible, man.
Yeah,
it's like fennel mixed with like shoe polish or something.
I've had like the real stuff where it's like, the more raw stuff, and then you put it in dishes or whatever. It's pretty good. But the what she gets, the black licorice string, I'm not a big fan of. It's very chalky, and
I wouldn't eat it at all.
Did you notice, Dave, though, the name of the shuttle tonight?
No.
Ooh.
Yosemite.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool because it's a national park in California.
And a ship we've seen before.
The shuttlecraft Yosemite, it didn't do so well. I think it got abandoned here, but yeah, like I did find that this shipwreck story pretty good. Just in terms of like the tension between Mariner and Boimler that was building. First I thought it was they were on the planet with Khan, or like this was going to be like SETI Alpha 5 or something like that, but it wasn't that. And then there was
better.
They are consistent with who Mariner is, like, because Mariner can be like in a shuttle crash and break her arm and just pop it back in.
I'm okay. It's just a fracture.
Just? Oh God, I can't even look at it.
It's like she says, boom, boom, I can do whatever. But I think that this storyline did a good job of showing that she's got her strengths and her weaknesses, and so does he.
Right. Like all people do.
Like all people do. Yeah. And like, I guess the whole thing with with the evil computer, the Agamus played by Jeffrey Combs, it's like, the temptation's like, what? Just hook me up to your things. Hook me up to your replicators. I'll fix whatever you want. And she's like, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Like she's like, why don't we just bury him in the sand or something? He's like, no, we can't do that because we're Starfleet and it's a sentient life form and we have to treat him right. But eventually they do bury him in the sand, right? But the crabs dig him up.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole reveal where he finds out that she got him reassigned because Jeffrey Combs' character is trying to find out whatever he can. He got a little bit of the information from the pad, and then he uses that against them to and then he stuns Mariner. He phasers her, when she acting, but it turns out to be a ruse or a boim, if you will.
You've been boimed.
When he turns around, he turns the tables on them, and he gets the Agamus, the Jeffrey Combs character, to kind of do the dirty work for them. And I think it's not a very complicated story, but I do think it was good for these two characters maybe to go on it and kind of have further growth. And then we got this really weird, fun, crazy story with Billups and like his backstory and where does the world he comes from and grew up in, which is Renaissance Fair and LARP world and things like that.
Yeah. What if, guys, I was thinking about that storyline. What if they had given Tendi the Rutherford storyline and Rutherford the Tendi storyline tonight? I think that would have been better. I think if Rutherford was worried that Tendi had been blown up, I think they should have swapped the roles of the characters tonight. That Tendi breaks in and stops Billups from having sex, and I think it would have worked better. I think they give Rutherford the A storyline and give Tendi the B stuff way too much, and I think they need to stop that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, well, Tendi, like I really liked the story where Tendi and Mariner went on their side quest, and I think that's probably the best storyline we've had from Tendi so far, in my opinion. The rest of it, the one where she turned into the Scorpion last week and everything was fine, but it's kind of it's not I think her strongest.
Her Orion one, is that the one you're talking about?
No.
Last week
that was a good one.
Yeah, the Orion one was pretty good.
That's the one with Mariner I'm referring to, where she like had to go.
It was okay.
Like let's talk like a pirate, and she was the mistress of the winter constellations and all those.
Definitely
things.
Her best one.
Yeah, it's like
It's an Orion thing. It actually makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, she doesn't like talking about it. So, maybe that's the thing holding her back, because she's like the first Orion character, but that's also sort of or I guess Starfleet character that's a main character.
She's perfectly comfortable talking about it when she's on Orion or with other Orions, but I can understand her not being comfortable, like kind of like Worf isn't super comfortable all the time talking about his Klingon heritage with humans or other people within the Federation, because it is awkward.
Yeah,
it's got to be way more stereotypes against Orions too.
Well, even Mariner was using some of those stereotypes in that season 1 episode. He's like, "Yeah, you're a pirate. Come on, embrace it." And she's like, "Well, that's not." Yeah. Jeremy's just asking, like, the whole scene where Boimler stunned Mariner, right? Was that too extreme? Because the stun setting could still be fatal.
No,
she'd do it to him.
She would do it to him, and I think she kind of had a comment in this episode.
Yeah, even with a broken arm.
Yeah,
just a fracture. Yeah, I think it's only fatal if you put the stun setting right up to the head, right? That's the only time I've known stun to be fatal.
Yeah,
like when Valeris killed those two guys in Star Trek 6.
There are also different settings of stun, but I think it's kind of like as much as a stun gun can be fatal. Yes, it could stop your heart. I mean, I think sometimes it's justified. Maybe it's in this case, maybe not. Like what he did was, but he wanted to prove to her that he could save the day, and he didn't need her help, and that he was capable. That was the whole point, and he did prove her wrong, and I think she learned something from that, and he was willing to stun her. I think she likes that. She would respect that.
Yeah, like, well, at first, like, but before we get the reveal, were you like, what did you think before that? Do you think Boimler's just becoming unhinged, or did you kind of see this coming where he was going to say it was a ruse?
I think that's what made the show good tonight, because it made you wonder. It made you go, oh, is he going kind of crazy here? Is he just had enough of Mariner and her attitude, or is he trying to be more capable? And yeah, I think it was very clever writing tonight for Boimler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've seen that from Boimler in a few episodes, where once he figures out like a solution to the problem, he'll do it no matter what it is. And we've seen him save the day a few times by doing crazy things.
You've been boimed.
He's been boimed. We've seen a few boims.
Yeah. And we will see many more Boims in the future.
Bradford himself, yeah.
7 seasons, I'm predicting. It seems like that would be fitting.
That would be fitting for a start. Yeah,
7 seasons at Ensign. But that's like the whole. Where does the name of this episode come from? Where pleasant fountains lie. What does that mean?
I don't know. It just made me think of parks. It's like, oh yeah, parks.
I think.
Nice
I think it has to do. I think it's a sex reference, to be honest with you.
It's a sex reference.
I don't know. That's where I can.
Oh no, it's probably a Ren Fair kind of
a Renaissance fair thing.
Yeah, like they're in like a fantasy world where pleasant fountains lie, that type of thing.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's a reference to the.
Oh, do you know what it's a reference to?
What?
White Plains, New York. There's a place called Renaissance Plaza, and and it's where they have all these fountains. So
okay.
So that's kind of what it's based off of. Is there's all these fountains in this Renaissance Plaza in White Plains, New York. So that's where maybe whoever wrote this is from White Plains.
So the episode writer is Derek Bernard.
Is he from White Plains?
That I don't know. I don't. So Garrett Bernard he wrote the first season episode titled Veritas, which was the 8th episode of that season. And we liked that one pretty good. What can we say about Garrett Bernard here?
Veritas.
Well,
Veritas means truth. So
he's even got a photo on IMDb. Here we go. This is the writer. Doesn't tell me much about where he's from, other than he was known for Foxes, Lower Decks, and Solar Opposites. And that's about it. I don't know. Maybe he's from White Plains. Anyway. I think we're through the story, though. Like, I don't have a lot of other questions in terms of what we saw tonight. Do you guys have any?
I don't know. We could talk a little bit about Jeffrey Combs and the supercomputer, and I don't know. We haven't really talked a lot about him, but he was very good in, some of his little moments tonight where he showed Boimler the thing with Mariner, where at the end where he's bitching with the other supercomputers that are in prison. I don't know. I thought, shout out to Jeffrey Combs on this. When the moment when he gets into the computer or whatever, and this whole image that you're showing with him on top of all the skulls and the drones.
Yeah,
I don't know,
everything.
I just thought it was very
I already
clever.
played it once, but here
I will produce a whole fleet of murder drones.
a whole fleet of murder drones.
Another great Jeffrey Combs character. I put him right above that guy who wanted the creepy hologram of Kira.
Yeah. No, he was fun. I thought his his little things, and then there was Queen Polana. Do you think we'll get Queen Polana again? She was played by June Diane Raphael, who is not a name I know off the bat.
If we get 7 seasons, I'm gonna say yes. If
she is actually the wife of Paul Scheer in real life.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense.
Oh, that's another reason she's gonna be back. Oh yeah, she'll be back.
She'll be back, yeah. No, and it makes sense to do that with. So yeah, she's playing his mom, which is kind of funny.
Which is exactly why my mom is always trying to trick me into having sex.
Right, which is
God.
probably an in joke within the cast, and so yeah, they had a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
Mother,
people
if
who
you're
watch
planning on
this
tricking me into
podcast.
intercourse, think again. The only lady I love is 2 decks tall and pumped full of dilithium.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul Scheer is great as this character. really enjoy him as Billups. He's unapologetically enthusiastic about everything he does, and the whole thing tonight where it's like, oh, he was gonna go through with it just to kind of like, I don't know, appease his mother, and which is very common with sons that, like, leave or abdicate or whatever they do, and they come back and then they feel guilty. I think that's kind of like all the stereotypes that they're playing off here, and and it makes sense. It's again very kind of grounded. This episode is more grounded than most.
He felt like an obligation to return to his culture or to his people, the Hysperians, to take up I just like, okay, in the whole scene, maybe the best joke of tonight was when Rutherford's like, no, we have to save his virginity.
No, Billups loves his virginity.
And then he goes, where's Billup? Did his kingdom come?
Huh? Where's Billups? Did his kingdom come?
Yeah, that's a good joke.
I don't know. I was like, to hear that.
He needed to get warmed up.
Yeah, he's like, I couldn't get it going, and he had erectile dysfunction, I think, but it turned out to work out for him. He was happy just to. There was that a throwaway line, I think, in the first episode in Second Chances in season 1, where I think it's the Trill character, the one that Rutherford was dating. She's like, oh, Andy Billups talking to women is that guy's final frontier. But it kind of makes sense that he's been avoiding having sex so he won't have to ascend to the royal family of a Renaissance fair LARP people.
I can see if you like wanted to be in Starfleet, that kind of world would probably drive you crazy.
Yeah. And that they look down on it. They're like, we don't need you as a prince, Billups. We need you as an engineer.
Engineer.
Yeah. Well, mother, you can try to get me to eat all the mutton I can find to. Where's the other part? Oh yeah, live in a castle with pet dragons. But you have to accept
endless amounts of mutton.
Yeah, I just like, you have to accept that I'll be a virgin for the rest of my life. And she's just like, oh,
we'll see.
Just back. Okay. Well, I don't think I have much more trivia, so maybe we can give a rating to this episode, and we can go from there. Okay. I'll go first if you guys want. I think this is a good episode. I think it's at least an 8.5, maybe 8 point. I'm going to go 8.6 for this. Jeff, do you have a rating?
7.7.
0.7. Jaemeel is he's I don't know if he sent a rating. Okay, he probably hasn't seen it yet, so we'll get his rating later. Davan,
I'm gonna say 8.
You're going 8, like you're same as last week.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that averages for the three of us tonight at an 8.1, so a little bit lower than last week's. As mentioned, Garrick Bernard wrote this, and Jason Zurek. So they really only seem to have like the 3 directors. Like they go from Jason, Kim, Bob. Jason, Kim, Bob. So there's like a rotation in terms of the directors. That I guess when you're in animation, directing works a little differently, or what the role of the director is, maybe compared to like a live action show.
Yeah, because where's Frakes?
Yeah, I don't think Frakes would ever direct an episode of this, because I think I get the impression from animation directors that they're more driven by like they might draw it if they want to show you what to do, right? Like they tend to be more illustrative, and it's more about directing animators and maybe somewhat with voice actors, but that a lot of that gets laid down in advance, and then it's about how you're going to translate those audio recordings into the show later on, like how expressive a certain character is, what they see, bringing that all through. I think. Anyway,
makes sense.
All right. Well, that's I think we'll probably be able to wrap up a little bit early tonight for this episode, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie. There's only 3 episodes left in season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, I think. We're only going to 10 episodes. So 3 weeks left before in October 20. Well, it can't be, right? Because we still maybe there's more than 10 episodes this season, because on October 28th is the start of Star Trek Prodigy. Davin, you're going to be covering that show with me and Jessica Chan starting on that date.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, so
I
I
think
would
it's going to be a
assume
good show, actually.
I would have thought Lower Decks would end and then maybe Prodigy would start, but maybe not.
There's often a little break in between these kinds of things too.
Sometimes, but in the case of Discovery, which is going to start 2 or 3 weeks after Prodigy starts, so there is a lot coming up in terms of the new Star Trek shows we're going to be talking and reviewing here on Live Long and Podcast in the coming days and months to come, and even year. So we're looking on the horizon to Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Strange New Worlds and anything else that might come up in the meantime. Plus, you should check us out on Monday nights. We talk about Star Trek, the original series, along with Jeff and I's dad, Ted. We also got Jody Simpson, Adam Woodward on that panel. Ashley Millard sits in as well. We only got 5 episodes left. We just talked about the Gamesters of Triskelion, an episode I had never watched before of the original series, which was
Trelane.
No, that's the Squire of Gothos.
Oh, that is the Squire of Gothos.
Gamesters of Triskelion is where they get like kidnapped and sent to like an arena gladiator world, not to be confused with the Roman gladiator world. Right. And the other thing I've learned, we've almost watched all 79 original series episodes, and what I've learned throughout the whole experience is that there's really only like 5 or 6 types of original series episodes. Like basically it's like
Nazi episodes.
Episodes where Kirk gets like trapped somewhere and basically Spock's left in command and McCoy's just giving him shit the whole time. That was one of these episodes. That happens frequently. Or there's just episodes where they have to talk a computer to death, or they I guess the other one is they just have to fight something. But but check that out every Monday night. We talk about a new episode of Star Trek, the original series. On Tuesday nights, we talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Jeff, we were talking about season 4 right now. We just talked about the Sword of Kahless last night, and we're heading into next week. We're going to be talking about Armand Bashir, the James Bond one.
Yep.
Right.
A great episode.
Great episode. So if you like Star Trek Deep Space Nine original series, you can also check out the movies. We've done podcasts for all those. Also check out Davin's podcast on Locutors of Trek. Doing one this Sunday, Davin, with your Star Trek debate show. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Sure, why not? We're going live. We're gonna try the live streams. I was inspired by you guys.
Good.
And a game we like to play on my podcast every now and then is Debate 9. And Dave's going to take part in that. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a good one. And on that note, before I even do that, you're going to be coming on to another one of our shows that's not Star Trek related specifically, but we have a channel called Trivial Debates. This is a podcast Jeff and I created many years ago, and we are still going. Now we do it on a monthly basis, and so it's like we have a movie round and we argue about movies. We have a sports round. There may be there's a question around sports, and so there's a judge. Whoever makes those questions kind of decides who has the best answer and who gets to go there. So we got Davin's going to be competing along with our friend Max Duda and Jessica Chan, who will be joining you and I on the Star Trek Prodigy panel when that comes up. We got some great questions coming up, including who is the greatest WWF/WWE wrestler of all time? What nostalgic gaming console do you think would still be fun to play? What artist?
There's only one answer.
There's only one answer. To me, it's 64. What artist do you think has mastered their craft at the instrument that they play? That's the music question. Who was the best child actor in a TV series? In the movie category, we have what's the best musical of all time? And in the wild card, we're going to have 80s hair bands is Chris Seymour's favorite. He's asking who did it best. Whoever
already can't wait. Get ready for Sunday.
Whoever has Poison, I think. we'll do the best. So check out that on Trivial Debates Sunday morning, and also we are in the heat of it here in reality TV shows. We have a third channel called Super Mario Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about shows not related to Star Trek, and we've been covering Big Brother USA season 23 for like 11 weeks now. We're almost in the home stretch. For the last 2 weeks. Down to the final four. Tonight we'll be talking about the next eviction, final four eviction, tonight at 9:30. And next week is the final like HOH. Plus Survivor season 41 just got kicked off this week. We did our draft on Tuesday night, and Jeff and Jaemeel covered the premiere last night on Super Mario Brothers Podcasting. So we're doing that once a week. It's a condensed season, a lot of fun. If you're not into Survivor, it's not too late to start. So anyway, it's been on for a long time, and I'm this new season seems a lot of fun, and it's a lot less podcasts than Big Brother, so that's good too. Anyway, that's it, and we're gonna sign off for tonight. Live long and podcast. Thank you to Davan. Thanks to Jeff. Regrets from Jaemeel Robinson, who we'll see later tonight for the Big Brother podcast. And on that note, maybe we need a quote to take us out of here. How about the Royal Navy?
There's nothing from Shax.
Nothing from Shax. We were Shaxless in this.
Yeah.
Get out of my chair!
Yeah.
Why it didn't get over a Nate for me?
Now I feel better. Thanks, Dave.
No, no problem. I always got them at the ready. Okay, and let's give a huzzah on our way out for the night. Have a good one, everybody.
The Royal
Huzzah.
Navy is saved! Let's hear it for Prince Andorithio and his calloused squires!